Hello, everyone. It's Action Hour with Lindsay Baker, and I'm here tonight with a breaking story for you. Breaking news from Brazil. 1,000 buffaloes, female buffaloes, many of them pregnant, have been abandoned to starve to death, die of thirst, and indeed they are. Hundreds have died. I'm here today with Paula Oliver, and she is an activist, and she also has lived in Brazil, is a Brazilian, I believe. I'm not sure about that, but you'll tell us. But anyway, you are right up to date on the story. Paula, let's jump in and get people up to speed, and then I want you to tell us what's going on right now, because I know you've been in touch with them. And we want to thank Metropolis for letting us play that video. So Paula, what's the latest? What's going on right now? This was several days ago, the video, is that correct? That we just saw?
Yes, some of these images were taken about 2 weeks ago that we just saw. And the latest that the nonprofit organization who has been working on site at the farm since day one, they have right now temporary guardianship of the animals. Nothing is guaranteed yet. It's still a legal battle between the owner of the farm and the nonprofit organization for the full guardianship, the permanent guardianship of over 1,000 buffaloes. Mostly female and pregnant, so we're counting on the numbers are going to increase.
Now, when you say they have temporary guardianship, where do they have them? Are they being allowed? Because I understand that at one point he actually forced the workers that came in to save them off the land, and then they were able, through a court injunction or something like that, get back on. So where are they? And are they somewhere where they can keep them, or is it temporary as far as where they're going to be able to stay as well?
Right now, the activists have been allowed to remain inside the farm and to care for the animals. So we have veterinary hospitals, tents, right? Very simple, all functioning through donations. But the activists are inside the farm, all the operations to rescue, and the veterinary hospital, they're being able to feed, to give water to the animals, to treat them. which was a different situation 7 weeks ago when the owner retained guardianship of the animals and kicked all the activists out of the farm. So they had to put down their tents and set up camp outside of the fences of the farm on the road. And they never gave up. They set up camp there, and then 48 hours, they were able to revert the judge's decision and get permission to operate, and the temporary guardianship, which means it gives them the right to, the animals remain on the farm. They cannot remove the animals from the farm at this moment, but they can go in and treat them.
How many is it? Before we go on, I do want to just say that there will be very graphic images. So there are some, not that many, but they are, you will see dead animals, bodies decaying. We want to warn you, spoiler alert, I will say so before the image, but I just want to let you know that. So how many do they know? I know it's so early to tell, but what are their guesses, if you have any idea, of how many will be left that if they do get the permanent custody, that they will have to home?
Over 1,000. Looking more or less maybe 1,500 maybe, because of all the pregnant ones. Just to remind you, some of them are still very ill and they're dying. Every day we lose more animals. Today we lost a very dear, the first one who was rescued. She was not pregnant, but so even though they have veterinary care, they've been without food and water for approximately what we think between 3 to 4 months. So we're losing a lot of animals every day, and the ones that will remain mostly are pregnant. So we have to increase these numbers.
Yeah.
And the organization, ARA, the nonprofit organization in charge of the case with the temporary guardianship.
Yes.
We're very optimistic that ARA will get the permanent guardianship of these animals. However, the problem is where to place them. We're hoping to have a sanctuary, maybe a piece of the farm could be devoted to a sanctuary for these animals, so we wouldn't have to relocate them. However, that may not happen, and we might have to rent or buy land, lease, year lease land nearby the state of São Paulo, we're near the city of Brotas, because transportation would be a great problem.
Yes, indeed. So obviously there's a need for support from donations, and we want to ask people if they can possibly donate. The place to donate to is the gentleman that is running ARA. Is that correct?
Yes, Alex Parent is the president of the nonprofit animal rights organization in charge.
And you're going to be coming back with this gentleman and someone else too, I believe, on the 18th, with more information and more updates, etc. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was able to set up a time with Alex and his lawyer. I think it's very interesting for the lawyer to be on, and so he can give us the latest updates on the legal battle with the farmer. So
that's going to be wonderful. And folks, what's the objective? Tell people what you would like them to do. Number one, get the word out. So how can they get this out in the public so there's a huge outcry? Can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yes, we need exposure, because in Brazil we cannot trust the legal system, and we cannot just sit and wait to see what's going to happen. And then if we lose the guardianship of these animals, and they end up, the worst case scenario is that they end up going back to the farmer. So what I wish and I would like for people to do is to go to the Instagram page of the organization, where updates are being posted 3-4 times a day, every day, videos, and spread the word online. Yes, copy and paste, post on your.
Make sure we're putting the right one up. So for them to go on Instagram. And Instagram?
Búfala de Brotas. The Instagram is the same, but it's Búfala_, DE_, and then Brotas.
Okay, let's get that into, while you're talking a little bit more about this, let me get that into the chat group. We will put, better yet, we'll just put everything at the top, as we always do at the end of the broadcast, all the ways to contact. So folks just have to look at the top. It's right there. It'll be
Yes,
posted.
I
Okay.
just
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we need exposure to put pressure on the authorities in Brazil in charge of the case. Pressure coming from outside of Brazil would be extremely helpful right now. A call for action that they do not give the guardianship of these animals back to the farmer. The laws in Brazil are a little bit different than here, but the same way as the meat industry laws here, the animals are treated as things, properties. So there is a chance that these animals
He
will
could
be
get him back.
given back to him. So that's number one, the exposure. Number two is, of course, donations, because so far this farmer has been charged with over 5 million reais in fines. 5 million reais, about $1 million in fines of animal cruelty, environmental. Some of the charges are environmental, and then the other charges. But so far, 5 million reais, but we haven't seen a dime. The animals have not seen a dime of his money. All the money for food, veterinary care, water, it was coming from the activists' pockets, and now we're getting donations, getting the word
Starting to
out.
get some. Yeah.
Some
Now,
donations, and these animals eat a lot. It's been about
yeah.
10 tons of food per day.
Yikes. Yikes. Now, how can people, we see how they can donate, and we see these are going to be graphic images, folks, but how can they put out the stink? How can they get to the right people to complain, to get the word back to the leaders? Who should they contact? Yeah.
Right now, we had to narrow down. There were some sanctuaries involved, and too many people trying to administer how to contact and who to contact. We had about 5 different organizations involved, and now everything falls into the ARA, Nonprofit Animal Organization, and their Instagram page is the main point of. So over there, they're going to post exactly where, because things are they're moving fast.
Right.
Every day things are changing. So right now we
so
don't have.
People should follow them. People
Yes.
should follow them here. And then should they write to the president though of the country, or is that like not even going to do anything?
Everything will help at this point. I will say.
So maybe we can
help.
get that information up for them. We can get that up tonight. That'd be great. Later after the show, maybe we can do that. Okay, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you, but we want to make sure they know what to do for the action that we want them to take. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, just to narrow down that we, instead of having different organizations with different sanctuaries involved, right now, all the point of contact and point of source of all the information on this case is on the Instagram page of ARA, and
which is
Buffalo's brought us, and they have the website. The one on the screen right now is their website. But the Instagram, they post every day, 3-4 times a day, all the updates. So if something comes along and some legal decision has been taken and we need to protest and we need to, get the fact exposed, and we need to email the authorities, the mayor, for example, or, the prosecutor or the judge, or the governor of the state, the president of the country, then the call for action will come from there.
Great. So that's the key.
Yes, a week ago, when the farmer retained the guardianship of the animals and kicked us out of the farm, we organized a protest in city center and city downtown of Brotas. And then we went online, and then hundreds of people showed up with signs, and that worked. They put a pressure on the judge, and the decision was reverted. And now the organization has retained temporary guardianship of the buffalo.
That's wonderful. So it will work if people speak out. It will work.
Yes, at this moment, as of today, we are on the standstill for the decision to be made by the judge. Rather, these animals are going to remain with the ARA animal organization or go back to the farmer. That's why we're kind of quiet right now, waiting for this decision. But if the decision comes that we lost the animals and they have to be returned to the owner, then we're going to have to make a lot of noise to revert that.
Can't imagine it. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. It cannot.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because it's going to look very bad on the government, on the authorities. But the laws in Brazil are distorted, and we don't have 100% faith and justice.
Let's show a couple more clips. Now, you're going to have to translate these when we get done, but it's pretty self-explanatory.
Sem água, numa fazenda em Brotas. Com a autorização, voluntários, entidades, empresas e a prefeitura se uniram para cuidar dos animais. Hoje eles receberam silagem de cana doada por uma usina e água levada por um caminhão-pipa. Alguns búfalos estavam atolados e precisaram ser içados da lama. No total, são quase 700 animais que estão em situação de abandono. Muitos búfalos estão fracos por desnutrição, outros estão doentes. Na semana passada, a Polícia Ambiental foi até a fazenda e encontrou 22 carcaças de animais e quase 700 búfalos vivendo em péssimas condições, sem comida e sem água. Os policiais registraram um boletim de ocorrência por maus tratos e autuaram o dono da fazenda em R$2.133.000.
If you're just tuning in, it's Lindsay Baker on the Action Hour. I'm here with Paula Oliver, and we have a breaking story. 1,000 buffaloes left to die, all females, many pregnant. It's a major national disaster, and we want to get it out in front of the public so that we can make the Brazilian government do the right thing. So I think we kind of got the picture, but go ahead and fill us in on anything we might not have seen, heard in the last
clip. That video was about in the beginning when they thought was about 700 animals. On that day alone, they found 22 carcasses. As of right now, over 200 have been found. Just a few days ago, they used a drone to fly over the property, and they saw some ditches that had been dug, and they excavated it, and there was over 100 bodies, dead carcasses of buffalo. And then they did the biopsy and found out that most of them have been buried alive. They were still breathing. They could tell because they have sand and dirt through all their respiratory passages. So they were still alive and they were being buried alive.
Just to get rid of them. They were all put together in a lump, like just so much tissue to be thrown away.
Yeah, when they decided the buffalo was not profitable, it was a dairy farm. They only sold the milk, buffalo milk. So when he decided, the owner, that it was not profitable, he decided to grow soybeans and corn, and that's subsidized by the government as well. So it's much more profitable business for him. So what he did is he's fenced a huge pasture area, fenced the animals out of this area into where they didn't have any food or any water, and he expected that they would just die, slowly die, and he could just go on with his soy and his corn. And well, they didn't die as soon as, he thought probably within a month or so they would die, and they suffered for 4 months. Many died, but buffaloes are tough animals. If it was cattle, they would have been all dead by the time the activists got there.
And I guess he just figured, well, if they're strong enough, they'll survive. So, I mean, the one question I had was, they were out sort of where there was grazing land and water. Why were they starving? It wasn't, yeah, go ahead.
So the farm has some grazing land and some water, but that whole area was fenced for the production of soy. So they were already starting with the machinery to work the soil to grow soy and corn. So they took the buffalo to another area of the property where there was no pasture, no water, and put a fence there so they couldn't come back to where the pasture was.
Oh my gosh.
So they were literally eating barks of tree. In some of these images you saw that they were saying, some of them were eating barks of tree in desperation to get some nutrients because they are pregnant. Some were nursing, and they were in complete despair for some food and some water.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, we know these images are hard to watch, but we really want to get this story out. It's incredible, the cruelty and the idea of a dairy company, which is a brand, probably a large brand. We don't have to get into the details, but it's probably a consumer brand and successful. And they had an image to the public, and that whole image is completely tainted. It shows, I think, very clearly where the interest and the main focus lies, which is on profit with no care for the animals, yet we continue to hear how much they love them, how well they're taken care of. But then all these stories come out all the time. And I know that you know a lot about it. We won't talk about why, but we know that you have covered a lot of information in your activism and can tell where some bodies are buried, but we'll stay off that subject and focus where we are right now, which is to try to help. Go ahead.
I have to tell you, I have seen enough, but I have never seen a case where a farmer would, usually these farmers would send them to slaughter or sell them. These are profitable animals, profitable, if you will, for people who are not vegan, of course. If they see the animal as property, he could sell these animals. He could have, sent them to slaughter, doing what other farms do. But in this case, the level of cruelty was, because it wasn't a quick death. It was a tortured, slow, starving, painful death for each single one of these animals. That to me is cruelty and another level, unprecedented in Brazil. I don't think we can present this crime anywhere else in the world with this huge amount of animals, and they were healthy before that. So the veterinarians, we had access, the organization had access to their vaccination files in May 2021, this year, and all the animals were healthy. There was no reason to starve them to death. One of the arguments from the owners is that they were old, and old buffalo don't give a lot of milk. So if they're not profitable, let's just kill them. I think that's what he thought. So I've seen a lot of cruelty, but this to me is another level.
In some of the pictures we saw in that one film from Metropolis that they were taking them out of the water, right? And then there was one, they did everything they could to get all of those animals out of there. It must have taken a lot of people to do that. How many people are involved in the rescues, would you say?
Oh, at least 5 different organizations. So there was hundreds of activists there at the beginning. And there's another group called GRAD. It's GRAD, and they're a rescue group. I think you guys have worked with them before a few years ago, and we had severe fires in Brazil. Hello.
Yeah, we've got their information up here, so that's good. So
some of them are trained. Some of them are trained professional animal rescues, and some of were just people trying to help with everything they can. But I would say hundreds of people involved.
Hundreds of people. Yeah, let's watch another clip. I have a couple.
Inadequado, sem alimentação e sem água.
Alguns animais estão mais desnutridos que outros. Eles são criados nesta fazenda particular em Brotas, de maneira totalmente inadequada, segundo denúncia anônima feita à Polícia Ambiental, que tem autorização para entrar em propriedades em casos assim. Estes ainda sobrevivem, inclusive filhotes. Já estes não aguentaram o descaso e a irresponsabilidade. As carcaças estavam sobre a terra, num tipo de vala. De acordo com a polícia, 22 búfalos foram encontrados mortos e quase 700 em péssimas condições. Os animais estavam sem comida, sem água e confinados num local extremamente pequeno. Ainda segundo a Polícia Ambiental, o proprietário alegou que devido à pandemia não conseguiu comprar alimento suficiente nem vender os animais.
So when they came in to rescue them, were they able to take that fence down so they are allowed to graze, or they're still fenced in? So that means they have to bring in a lot of food. I mean, I know they have to still bring in a lot to care for all the sick. They're all basically sick, but are they able to utilize some of the land and water resources there, or does he have jurisdiction to keep them off it?
Yeah, the fence had a gate, so I guess all they did was to open the gate and drive. The buffalo, they could walk, could stand, could migrate back. But I was just talking to them about that today, because we see images with this green grass and we think, oh, it's all good. But I've been told that that grass is not enough. It's too short, and it's not enough food, and there's not enough grass for all the animals. So 90% of their diet right now is the food that it's been given to them. And just to reinforce something that was said on this video, actually wasn't said, but I want to point it out. When the activists got there was no water. So the buffalo that was in that mud that you saw the tractor pulling them up, that mud, that hole was dug up by the activists, and then the city mayor, the mayor of the city, they were kind enough to start sending trucks with water to fill up a little pond for the buffalo. But some of them are so weak that they went in there and then they couldn't get out. They weren't strong enough to climb out of the mud. So we had to rescue, lift them with the tractors.
I see.
But when they first got there, there was no water. There was no water anywhere for them to drink.
Oh my goodness. That is just horrendous. So would you say, I mean, I know you're not there, but based on what you've learned, how many of them are really, really in bad condition, and how many of them have kind of bounced back?
All of them, all of the ox are ill. None of them are in good weight, a healthy weight for their species, their age, their gender, and the fact that they're pregnant. So out of 1,000, I can say that 1,000. And the ones that are really ill, like today we lost one that we thought she was going to make a recovery. Some of them are coming to us, not that we can help them survive, but we can give them a more honorable, less suffering death. It's what I
love at the end of their life, at least.
Yes, but we have all veterinaries teams on the property. They also have the environmental police that came in and checked all the biopsies and did, all the health exams on these animals. And it's been confirmed none of them are up to the healthy weight and overall health. They are not healthy.
Yeah.
Their body mass, I don't know the name in English, but there's a term they use to measure by body mass if the animal, how skinny the animal is and how, how the healthy weight is, and then how to tell that they are below that level of starvation.
That picture
these
just
images
says
are
it all.
heartbreaking images.
Yeah, some of them are just horrendous. Oh, poor things. Well, thankfully, not that it's anywhere over, but at least there are some, like you said, the ones that are passing, at least they're passing surrounded by loving beings, and they're not passing in such a horrific way of being dumped in a ditch, still breathing. I mean, that alone.
They probably saw their fellow mates going down like that.
Absolutely.
And each one that we lose, it's devastating, because each should, and I have to tell you that all the activists working there, all of them have families. They left their homes, they left the city, the state to be in Brotas, to be in this farm. They are by no means in comfortable situation. They have tents, they're sleeping in their cars, they are eating because people are donating. The population of Brotas has been very helpful, donating food, helping with everything they can. So the owner, actually, for a Brazilian TV show, he recorded a message to the mayor, and this message was played publicly last week on national television. He was kind of threatening the mayor and saying, hey, this is going to look bad on the city. You should kick these activists out and let's end this, because it's going to start looking bad for the city. And you don't want that. You're the mayor. So the mayor, instead of doing that, he publicly posted that message. And it's quite the opposite. The city of Brotas is actually not embarrassed of it. Of course, it's a tragedy that this is happening in your hometown, but they have not looked the other way. They cared, and they're driving there. They're cooking vegan meals.
Thank you.
And they're doing everything they can. So as if it happened here in Houston, I think we would do it. If it happened in LA, we would.
We jump on it. Speaking of Houston, we have Renee King-Sonnen, Rowdy Girl Sanctuary, who was the person that I think introduced us, right?
Correct.
Through the grapevine. Thank you for watching, Renee.
Rowdy Girl Sanctuary. They've moved the location, so they're a little farther than Houston from us right now. But I need to pay a visit.
Well, that's good. So what else? We have a few minutes left. What else would you like people to know? We've shown just about all the images. I don't know. We have one more news story. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what we got here.
Búfalos fossem alimentados e recebessem água numa fazenda em Brotas. Com a autorização, voluntários, entidades, empresas e a prefeitura se uniram para cuidar dos animais. Hoje eles receberam silagem de cana doada por uma usina e água levada por um caminhão-pipa. Alguns búfalos estavam atolados e precisaram ser içados da lama. No total, são quase 700 animais que estão em situação de abandono. Muitos búfalos estão fracos por desnutrição, outros estão doentes. Na semana passada, a Polícia Ambiental foi até a fazenda e encontrou 22 carcaças de animais e quase 700 búfalos vivendo em péssimas condições, sem comida e sem água. Os policiais registraram um boletim de ocorrência por maus tratos e autuaram o dono da fazenda em R$2.133.000.
So those that we just saw probably are like semi-grown up, maybe a year or two, right? They didn't look fully grown, but or no, they're pregnant. So
some of these buffaloes are 12, 13 years old. And of course, they're forced to be pregnant every year because otherwise they won't give milk. And it's a milk farm. It's a dairy farm.
Yeah.
They need that milk.
And they have one baby each time, right?
Yes.
Well, thank goodness. So once they have the one baby, then they're not being inseminated. I mean, I could not believe if the government would give them back to the landowner. That would be insane. I don't think.
That's why we need help. And that's why I'm here. I wanted them, and they will talk on your show. We couldn't get them in this evening, but and I said, no, I'm going to go there because I have to ask, I have to expose and tell people here what's going on. So people see cruelty happens all over the world. However, I wanted to bring this case here in the US because even though it's happening in Brazil, Brazil is one of the largest producers of milk and meat in the world. A lot of the meat and dairy we're eating here, part of it is coming from Brazil. So if you eat meat, if you eat dairy, even if you're here, you have to know that the source of that meat can be in another country, and this kind of suffering is happening. So the best help anyone seeing these images can give is to go vegan. No more animal products, because if the demand stops, then these farms won't exist. They will exist, but they will grow plants instead.
Well, he's moving over to the other crops. So what he was moving
No, he's still in the meat industry because all the soy and corn he was going to grow, it's to fatten animals around the world. Brazil is, I think, the second or third largest exporter of soy for cattle feed and factory farm feeding in China and all over the world. So that's where the money, the soy was going to go for, not to feed people directly.
But he could farm other things, just like I had on my show, Farmers for Stock-Free Farming from Scotland, and they talk about making money. They've increased these struggling farmers, not like he's not, but those that were, actually started doing crops and different things with their land, and they started making a lot more money. It saved their businesses. So we do want them to transition, but what he's doing is just unconscionable. I mean,
yes, what we know about him is that he was never a farmer. He's a city person. His father, the family was in charge of the farm. He himself had a different type of business. Psychoanalysis is his field of work. So he was never a farmer that really worked on the farm or lived on the farm. So perhaps he's not aware of all the money and all the success he could have by growing crops, different things.
And he doesn't have any tie to the land, probably, because he didn't work the land. He was in a different, to him, it's just dollars and cents. So, wow, what a story.
Property, yes.
Yeah. So
I wanted to thank you. Thank you so much. I know I emailed you and I insisted, and you gave this visibility to expose this case directly from another country, from Brazil. So I'm really thankful for this space and time that you guys gave.
Before you go, though, I do want to run through each of these and just tell people what these different organizations are one more time before we go.
Okay, so bufalosdebrotas.com.br, that's the website for the nonprofit animal rights organization in charge of this case. And they're also on Instagram. If you can put their Instagram page, that's the website.
Oh, this is the
screen right
website.
now?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. Did I have their Instagram?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
I
the
think
same
I
name
do.
of the web. Yes, that's the email for the PayPal. So donations through PayPal. That's the
Yeah.
email, ajudeara@gmail.com. That means
Right.
helpara@gmail.com.
And then we have this one. We'll get them all up in the top of the links right when we're done broadcasting. But this one, volunteers, these are the volunteers on the ground at this
Yes, I
Instagram.
don't believe Grad is still there. I think they have left a few days ago and some other people came in. They were there for a good 2 or 3 weeks though. I don't believe they're on ground right now, but I have to confirm that. Any volunteer, they have an application now for volunteers, of course, people who are there locally, and they have to fill up an application because hundreds, more than thousands of people are trying to volunteer, and they need to narrow down or it will become impossible to orchestrate and organize. But it's all going towards the Instagram page of the ARA organization. That's where you find all the information of volunteers.
Okay, great. Well, we don't want to confuse them with any more, but I think I covered all of them. And we want to say thank you to Metropolis and the news media outlet. What was the name of the news company that we played their clips? We'd like to mention them as well.
I believe it was Global News.
Globo.com. Yes,
Global. Yeah,
Thank you to
G1.
Globo for the footage. Yeah.
Global. Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
that was. Thank you so much for playing that. And if I would like to ask if you have it in your heart to donate $1, $5, anything helps. These animals are not cheap.
No.
One buffalo can eat up to, I even wrote this down, 22 pounds per day. Right now, they don't have money to give them 22 pounds a day. So they're probably giving them 10 pounds of food per day when they should be eating 22 pounds a day. But if we buy 22 pounds today for each buffalo, tomorrow we may not have money to buy nothing. So
it is a very critical situation. A
very critical situation, because so far we have not seen, the organization have not seen a dime of money from the owner of these previous owner. I want to call the previous owner of these animals. Hopefully he's not the owner anymore. And so every food, every effort to be there has been financed by donations. And these donations go directly for the food, water, and medicine, you know, that these animals need on site. So
we had a lot of people on tonight. Thank you all for watching and commenting, and please share out. Tina, Tom, Renee, thank you again. Laura, thank you all for watching and sharing out this story. And we're going to have you back. We're going to find out more. We're going to be with the attorney. So we're going to follow this story. Thanks for being on with me tonight, Paula.
Thank you so much for having me, for giving a space to talk about this issue.
My pleasure. And please, everyone. Oh, horrific. Everyone, if you can, I'm going to donate. Please donate whatever you can. It's Christmas time. Let's help them.
Let's give, please. I already donated. I asked friends. But it's a group effort, right? Alone, they can't do it alone.
If everybody gives a little, it'd be amazing. It would be so much. So everybody gives what they can. It would be great.
And just remember, the dollar versus the real, the Brazilian currency, is 5 times stronger. So if you send $1, they're getting 5 times the amount that you send. So if you send $5, they get 25. That's a coffee. That's a cup of coffee. So a cup of coffee can
I like that.
feed 1 buffalo.
That's
Thank
great.
you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Stay positive.